What's up everyone, how are y'all doing today? So on my last video I got a lot of requests to cover rare patterns in CS2, so that's exactly what we will take a look at today. I've picked some of my favorite rare patterns that make a skin look way more interesting and unique compared to all of the other available patterns. This is part 1 of my rare pattern series, so if I miss a pattern that you wanted to see in the video, it will be included in part 2. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment to be entered into the Falchion Tiger Tooth giveaway, and with that being said, let's get into the video. For the first skin on our list, we have the UMP45 Minotaur's Labyrinth, and typically these skins just have a maze pattern spread through the whole gun, but on some rare patterns like this pattern number 9, you actually get to see the Minotaur itself in the maze, which is pretty cool. Now, if you see the Minotaur at all, it is considered a rare pattern, but the more centered the Minotaur is, the better the pattern is. Really cool how they incorporated mythology into the name and design of the gun, and this is my personal favorite UMP in the game. Now let's look at the Galil Phoenix Blacklight, which is a very chaotic pink and purple Galil skin with a ton of graffiti drawings spread through the whole gun. But on one really rare pattern, which is pattern 755, you can actually get a centered phoenix with a ton of flames coming off of it and a phoenix riding down below it. This is the absolute #1 best pattern, so it makes it very expensive and it's also very rare, but it's really cool to see the best pattern out of literally 1,000 of these. One of the most well-known rare patterns is on the XM1014 Seasons, which typically has green, yellow, and orange leaves, but on some rare patterns like this pattern 26, you can actually see a big blue leaf at the front of the gun. Now, a lot of patterns do actually have this blue leaf, but it's typically small or cut off, and the patterns I have provided are all the best patterns where the blue leaf is the biggest and in plain sight. Now, this is a pretty cool detail that makes this pattern stand out way more than the rest of the Seasons patterns. One of the most overlooked AUG skins in the game is Snake Pit from the Anubis collection. It's a really cheap AUG skin with a ton of serpents and snakes spread through the whole gun, and what's interesting is on a few patterns you can actually see a frog among the snakes. Now, this is pattern 494. This is the #1 frog pattern where the frog sits up front and on top of the gun. You can see the frog when you idle, when you shoot, when you reload, and the pattern itself in terms of the snakes is really nice as well. All of them are very visible and it's very clean. Really cool skin. It's cheap. You can actually pick these up for pretty much market, and a nice little touch of detail on the gun itself. Next up, we have the P250 Crimson Kimono, which is a really nice P250 skin with a red and black kimono pattern spread randomly through the whole gun. Now, on a few rare patterns, like this pattern 328, you can actually get the whole top part of the gun to be all red and black. It looks super organized and way cleaner in terms of the colors. The bottom is going to be all gray, while the top part is going to have this kimono pattern with red and black. Looks really nice, in my opinion, way better than all of the other random kimono patterns. So if you like this gun, definitely look at the patterns that I've provided here. The Op Paw is a cheap op skin that has a ton of cats and dogs spread through the whole gun doing absolutely random stuff, but on a few rare patterns like pattern 41, you can actually see a golden cat in the middle of the gun. It's hard to miss, it's fully golden, and it's actually modeled after the Japanese figurines of cats waving their arms. So if you want this cat on your op, take a look at the patterns I provided. They will have this cat in the best positions possible. Next up, we have the 5.7 Neon Kimono, which is a very similar skin to the P250 we covered, but instead of red and black, here we have the kimono pattern in green and white. Now, majority of patterns all have a completely random mix-up of white and green, but on 2 rare patterns, we have a complete green slide and white. So, for pattern 452, the slide will be completely green, and on pattern 442, the slide will be completely white. It looks really uniform and really clean, and these 2 patterns are my complete favorites for the Neon Kimono out of all 1,000 of them. Now, this list would not be complete without the Glock Moonrise, so let's talk about it. It's a really cheap Glock skin at $1. It looks really nice. We have the purple, we have the city skyline, and the Moonrise. And on the rare patterns like this pattern 58, we actually get a star on the slide catch, or the little button right next to the finger. Now, you can actually get the star on a few spots on the slide catch, but the patterns I provided all have the star centered, which is really nice. And if you're looking for a Glock skin, you can actually pick this up for literally market price, no overpay, so I would highly recommend this Glock skin right here. Now, another underrated skin is the Acid Etched, which is a very vibrant P2000 skin with an all blue background and a ton of rainbow lines spread throughout the whole gun. But on one specific pattern, which is pattern 326, you can actually see on the slide behind the hammer, you can see a perfectly lined up 4-leaf clover at the back. It looks really cool, it's really nice. You see it at all times when you fire, when you reload, when you idle. It's a really rare specific pattern that in my opinion is very special, and it definitely requires a lot of overpay since it's only 1 out of 1,000. Next up is Windblown. which is an art-based Nova skin that depicts dandelions blowing out into the wind. However, on a few rare patterns, like this pattern 780 right here, which is the best pattern, you can actually see all the way at the front of the gun, the silhouette of a bird flying out into the sky. Now, only a few handful of patterns have this bird there, and these patterns are actually the best because they incorporate every aspect that the artist wanted to include into the skin, which is the dandelions, the sky, and the silhouette of a bird. And in my opinion, this skin stands out a little bit more than the rest of the windblowns out there. Lastly, let's talk about the M4 Daybreak, which is a very nice looking M4 with the depiction of a sun and clouds drawn in a very specific art style, and it looks very nice, but usually the sun is either to the left or the right of the gun. But on a few rare patterns, like this pattern 18 right here, the sun is actually directly in the middle, which means we get to see the full image throughout the whole gun. The buffer tube gets a cloud, the sight and the barrel are both yellow, and overall the centered sun patterns look definitely better than pretty much every other pattern available on the Daybreak. So here's my picks for the best rare patterns in CS2, and I would love to hear from you guys which rare patterns y'all like the most. I have a ton of videos coming soon to the channel, from themed inventories to glove knife combos, so make sure to stay tuned for that. I hope y'all enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day, everyone. Peace out.